Hey, beautiful peeps. If you're new, thank you for clicking on my video. I hope you enjoy it. For those coming back, welcome back. I did John Morris last time. Let's see what Hammy Boy's up to, because John Morris is good only in small doses. He's pretty boring, to tell you the truth. But before we see what Hammy Boy's up to, I just want to remind you to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. If you have already subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. Also, please consider becoming a member. You can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. You can click the join button underneath the video, and it helps me a lot to bring these kinds of videos to you. And now, let's get to the stupid that we've all come for. Hammy Boy, take it away.
Second Peter 3, scoffers of creation and the flood.
Yeah, Ken, a lot of people think the issue of creation and evolution is just a debate about, the opening chapters of Genesis, but we fail to realize that actually the New Testament touches on this issue, and probably the best chapter to go to is 2 Peter chapter 3, because in that chapter, Peter tells us that in the last days, which is the time when Christ ascended into heaven until he comes back, scoffers will come and they will scoff at the biblical account of creation and the biblical account of the flood. So that should wake us up automatically, the fact that that's in the Bible, that scoffers would come and they would reject the supernatural creation of the world, and they would reject the supernatural destruction of the world through a flood. And so I'm going to exposit that chapter or those verses and show why though it's relevant for us today.
Yeah, and in that passage in 2 Peter 3 too, as well, they reject creation, reject the flood, and by consequence, logically, they're going to reject the coming judgment. And it talks about the coming judgment by fire in there as well. So somebody here.
So before I get into the debunk, I'd like to know who I'm dealing with. Ken Ham was born in Australia. He's about 70 years old. He's got an education from Queensland Institute for Technology and University of Queensland. I couldn't find out from what. More specifically, I couldn't find out what he has his education in, although I did find out that he's got a BAS, whatever that is, from QIT, and he's got a DipEd from University of Queensland. If any of my Australian viewers can shed light on what these things are, I'm sure my other viewers would appreciate it. I'll pin it to the top of the page. But getting on with it, let's get on with the debunk, shall we? So you're talking about 2 Peter 3:3, and next time please cite it, because unlike me, some people are not well versed in your bullshit. And anyway, 2 Peter 3:3 is not talking about scoffers in the flood and creation. Please read your own fucking book for once. I know you're not really big on context, but you really should give it a try. According to the context of 2 Peter 3:3, it's talking about scoffers in the second coming of Christ, because he's talking about people saying, where is the promise of his coming? Because things have continued since our fathers fell asleep. And now that we've got your breach of the ninth commandment out of the way, 2 Peter has been overwhelmingly seen to be as pseudepigrapha, meaning it was not written by Peter. Now wait just a goddamn minute. Just because people reject creation and the flood does not mean, by extension, that they reject the coming judgment. There are plenty of Christians that accept evolution, and they accept that the flood is metaphor. You know, Hammy boy, you really should think about what comes out of your face hole, because it makes you look so stupid when dumb shit like that comes out of your mouth. Of course, there's an argument about Second Peter not being eponymous, which means it shouldn't be in the canon. So I guess you could use that argument, but in that case, then you should take it out of your canon. Seriously, Ken, can't you wait 10 minutes to call God a liar? I mean, technically, you're not calling God a liar. You're calling whoever wrote Second Peter a liar. But you think that God told whoever wrote Second Peter to write it, so in fact, you are calling God a liar?
If you like, starts from God's word, and I have a worldview then based on God's word, so I'm looking at a fallen world. But if you start with man's word, then you believe everything came about by natural processes. You look at the world that way. So really, there are only two religions in the world. Ultimately, it comes down to God's word and man's word in an ultimate sense.
Yeah, Christianity is the right religion, Ken. In fact, in the book of James, James 1:27, James tells us that pure and undefiled religion, he's talking about Christianity, is to take care of widows and the orphans. So Christianity is religion. It's just the right religion.
I have to go with what the Bible say. I have to.
Okay, Ken. So you're saying you start with God's word. Okay, let's say I believe you. I don't, but we'll get into that later. Which God? I know you're going to say the God of the Bible, but you do know there are more gods than just the God of the Bible, right? Just saying God doesn't mean anything. By the way, Ken Ham is an OC, and I know for people who aren't OCs, sometimes it's hard to parse out his accent. He did say fallen. Um, I know some people may have heard something else, but he did say fallen. There are only two religions in the world, Ken. Come on. I know, you know, there are more than two religions in the world. What about Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism, Confucianism, Taoism? Come on, dude, do better. How do you know Christianity is the right religion? How do you know any religion is the right religion? Have you ever looked at any other religion? Probably not, because that would put the devil in you, and God forbid something put the devil in you. Whoever Hammy Boy's yes man over here quotes James 1:27. I'm actually going to look it up because I trust these people as far as I can throw them, which is to say not at all. So I'm reading from NIV. James 1:27. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Again, that is from James 1:27 from the New International Version. Hammy Boy's Yes Man also says Christianity is the only religion that does this. Really? You know what? There are a lot more religions that are better at this than Christianity. Islam comes to mind, okay? Just saying. Not that I believe Islam's the right religion either, but you don't even follow it. You don't take care of your orphans and widows. So don't even say that to me. He also forgot the tail end of the verse. Gee, I wonder why. To keep yourself unpolluted from the world. Oh, unpolluted from the world. You mean like televangelism? You mean like running a theme park? You mean like jetting around like nobody's business? Jesus would not do this. Jesus ministered to the poor and the sick and the needy. And I only bring this up because you bring this up. Christian means little Christ. You are a piss poor Christian because you are not following Christ's example by looking after the poor and the needy and the sick. You are looking after your own goddamn needs, and it makes me sick.
Regarding the size of the ark, Ken, because a lot of people scoff and say the ark would never be able to survive a global flood. Well, actually, Stuart covers this in his talk because he looks at the biblical dimensions of the ark being 85 feet wide, I think 51 feet tall, and then 500 feet long. And actually, he'll show you that engineers, I think from Korea, did some tests on this, and they found actually that the size of the ark is carefully balanced for the demands of stability, comfort, strength. So it's a perfectly designed ark because the dimensions come from God. So Stuart will be looking at all those aspects when he gives his talk. It's a really interesting talk on the design of the ark.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand. I mean, we read the dimensions in the Bible, but God doesn't say anything specific there in the Bible about the shape.
No.
Which is why when we built the ark in northern Kentucky, or rebuilt the ark, okay, so when people look at it, it's got a very, very iconic shape, actually, with that bow and the sort of the fin on the bow and the way we've done the stern and so on. And that was based on some ancient wooden ships that had a fin like that to steer it into the wind, helps with stability. And we did put a stern on it, not just a box shape. Some of the early diagrams that people used for the ark, just based on those dimensions, made it like a rectangular box. But when you do water tank experiments, the force then on the front of the ship would be enormous, and if you've got it more like a stern of a ship, it would cut through the water more easily. So we said, why wouldn't Noah have been as intelligent and done things like that? So
Okay, I know that was a very long clip, but there was so much gourmet stupid in that clip that I just had to let it run, and then this way I only have to unpack the gourmet stupid one time. Okay, so Hammy Boy's Yes Man takes the measurements of the ark, which in the Bible are put into cubits, and transforms them into English measurements, which I don't know if they're right. And to tell you the honest truth, I don't care because we're in fairy tale land, and who cares? Okay, so I did manage to find a Korean arc experiment, but it's in Korean and Russian. So unless you speak Korean or Russian, I call bullshit on this. So if any of my viewers can speak or read Korean or Russian, please let us know what it says. God doesn't say anything specific about the shape. It's an ark, you moron. What do you think an ark is? An ark is a box. Why do you think the Ark of the Covenant is called the Ark of the Covenant? It's because the Ark of the Covenant is a box, you fucking moron. Learn English. Gee, I'm an OC, and I can't English too well, but I guess that's not too big of a surprise, 'cause I can't science too well either, and I can't brain too well either, and I can't math too well either, so, I'm just dumb as dirt. That's Ken Ham in a nutshell. So, anyway, if the story of the Ark was true, which it definitely was not, get that straight in your little pea brains, young earthers. The Ark was not true, but if it was, it would have looked more like this. Okay, so when you said you built your monstrosity, you built it according to ancient pictures. I have to ask you, how ancient were those pictures? Because my bet is that they weren't ancient enough. The Phoenicians were the premier boat builders. And if you know anything about the archaeology of the Levant, which obviously you do not, you would know that the Phoenicians, the premier boat builders of the time, could only go out a few feet before they sprang a leak. I don't think yuckers a whole lot, because there's not a whole lot to thank young earthers for, but Ken Ham, thank you very much for being honest about the water tank experiments that just totally capsized the whole box thing, because that is absolutely true, and that is why it's nonsense. I also have to wonder if God specified ark and everybody knew that ark meant box, okay, which they obviously did, right? But you're saying they didn't. Why would he not specify the shape of the ark if it wasn't a box? I mean, he did all this shit for the dimensions.
When I remember visiting the Ark for the first time, I came with Professor Stuart Burgess, and when we saw the Ark, he looked up and he saw the design features that you'd added onto the Ark, and he said that would be a really intelligent way to design the Ark.
There we are. See,
yeah,
he was saying we were intelligent, right? But actually, what we're saying, Noah was intelligent. Extremely intelligent. See, people had the idea he was, in the evolutionary process, and so he wasn't as good as us. We tend to think, because of the evolutionary worldview, people tend to think that, those ancient people weren't as intelligent as us. Actually, they're probably more intelligent, and we've degenerated some.
Yeah, I'm using my bathtub ark for this one. I can be petty that way, so sue me. Hammy boy, for a supposed literal Bible literalist, you sure make up a bunch of shit that the Bible doesn't say. Like I said, an ark is a box. Did you hear Hammy boy's yes man? Ham's yes man actually said that Ham added that feature to the ark. That is comedy gold. I am going to have to clip that out. To tell you the truth, I have no idea what evolution has to do with this, but they always find a way, don't they? Evolution does not say that ancient man was stupid, nor does it say things get better and better. How many times do we have to tell you people? All evolution says is that it lets people live in their environments. Correction, it allows things to live in their environments. It gives things adaptations that are useful in their environments. That is the key phrase, in their environments. What is useful in one environment is detrimental in another environment. How many times do we have to tell you people this? Big surprise, Ken Ham doesn't know how to science. You know, Ken, in science, things mean things. Degeneration has a meaning in science that is not the same meaning in the vernacular. Please define what you mean by degeneration. Otherwise, it's just a word. So, if you've made it this far, give yourself a big old pat on the back and a congratulations from me. Oh my god, this was so much gourmet stupid, and so much stupid that I now have to regain some brain cells. So, first, I'm going to decompress by watching some kitten videos because I love kitten videos. And then I'm going to do something that these fucking morons never heard of. That is, I'm going to read a book, which is where ideas come from. But of course, their imaginary God forbids them from reading any book but the fucking Bible, because if they read any other book, then they might just figure out that God doesn't real. And you can't have that, can ya? Because the preachers need their cash cow. So if you like this kind of content, please hit the subscribe button if you like it. Leave a like. Please leave a comment down below as it helps the algorithm. If you would like to help me keep making videos, please become a member. You can become a member for as low as 99 cents a month, and you can hit the subscribe button to do so. Until next time, goodbye.